Okay, today, joining us is Jerry Woodruff. Dr. Jerry is the professional services veterinarian for Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica. He began his career employed in a mixed veterinary practice with emphasis on beef cattle in North Platte and Bridgeport, Nebraska. In 1979, he established the North Platte Veterinary Clinic. Jerry joined Fort Dodge Animal Health in 1997 and transitioned to Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica in 2009. He's a University of Nebraska-Lincoln graduate and Colorado State University in his DVM. He's supposed to be here. Now we're with you. Jerry Woodruff.
Hi, Steve.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, cattle industry leaders, for making time to attend this year's Cattle Industry Convention. It's a busy time of year for you folks, and it's tough to leave home, I know, but thank you for your dedication to the cattle and the beef industry. Dedication is something that Boehringer Ingelheim Incorporated believes in and lives by. This time a year ago, we were integrating new products into the lineup and building our sales force. What a year it has been to grow your company and keep a focus on serving you, our customers. Our research and development team continually innovates products that help protect your herd from disease that impacts your bottom line. We invite you to stop by Boehringer Ingelheim's booth in the trade show and learn about a new vaccine, Express FP5 VL5, that steps beyond conventional reproductive disease protection. While in our booth, make sure to pause and bury men and women. We are hosting a special note card station in our booth that is part of Operation Gratitude. Your completed note cards will be delivered around the world to U.S. servicemen and women. Thank you. Boehringer Ingelheim wants to be a partner in your beef business. We are in the business for the long haul, and we have your back with products and people to help you be successful. We are proud to bring you today's opening general session and speaker. The gentleman truly knows and understands teamwork, heroism, and what it really means to have your back. Our speaker survived a day that will forever impact lives for us in the United States. He is here to share that story with us today. I turn your attention to a brief video introduction of our special guest today, and again, welcome to the convention.
I was a fire chief, and I was in the fire department for close to 30 years. It was a 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion. I mean, how anyone could survive being in that building when it collapsed. But I did. I was in the North Tower on the 35th floor, and the South Tower collapsed. And I really didn't know what had happened, but I heard it, I felt it. I mean, it went on for 10 seconds. The rumbling was tremendous, like an earthquake. And then I thought, well, the North Tower's next. So right there, I said, I have to get everyone out. And when I say everyone, that includes rescue workers.
Now, please welcome Richard Picciotto.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Richard Picciotto. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about September 11th. It's a very unique time in our history because I guarantee just about every single person, maybe these few kids at the front, will not know where they were, but I bet everyone else could tell you exactly where you were that day. They know where you were, who you were with, what you were doing. There's not another day in your life that you probably all know where you were at the exact same time. Those of us who are old enough remember the Kennedy assassination. That was the day. Where were you when? Well, the new day is September 11th. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my day on September 11th. At 8:45 in the morning, I was at my firehouse on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. That's the time that the first plane hit the first tower. At 9:50, I was in that tower. Actually, this is a copy of the book I wrote. It'll be available later on up to trade convention. But that's the North Tower. At 9:50, I was in that North Tower. I was on the 35th floor of that North Tower. That's the time the South Tower, the building right next to it, went down. 10:29, I was still in that North Tower. And that's the time the North Tower itself collapsed. 8 seconds later, I literally thought I was dead. Got to go back to 8:45 in the morning. I was at my firehouse on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Now, my tour doesn't officially start till 9 o'clock, but I had a job that I absolutely loved. I loved being a fireman. I loved being a chief. When you do something you like, you do it a lot. So being a chief is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job, sort of like being a farmer, being a rancher. You know, you have to be there. Someone has to be there all the time. So a chief has to be on duty, and we relieve each other. So I usually come in early because I'm officially supposed to start at 9 o'clock, but I usually get in around 7 in the morning. And I let the other chief go home a little bit earlier. He does the same for me, so it all equals out. But you just get that feeling that you're getting earlier. Anyway, I was in my firehouse probably around 7:30. I had a cup of coffee. I was sitting down in the kitchen talking with the guys, and all of a sudden, on the department radio, we hear that a plane flew into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Well, as soon as I heard that, my mind started racing. I'm thinking of a million different things. Immediately, I flashed back to 1993. Because 1993, I was working the day of the World Trade Center bombing. September 11th, 2001, I was working on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But in 1993, I was newly promoted chief, and I was working in downtown Manhattan. I was one of the first on the scene in 1993 for the World Trade Center bombing. I knew in 93 it was a terrorist act. I knew that they were trying to bring these buildings down in 93. So as soon as I saw this, because being New York City, we have almost instantaneous news coverage, we turned on the TV and saw that the tower's in flame. I immediately thought it was a terrorist act. Because what had happened is the newscasters were saying that a plane had accidentally flown into the World Trade Center. Well, I didn't think it was an accident at all. I thought it was another deliberate terrorist act. In 1993, when I was down there, I was one of the first on the scenes in 93, I was actually in charge of the evacuation. So I evacuated that building in 93. Because of that, I knew quite a bit about that building. I knew some of the things that we all know. We have two buildings that are 110 stories high. That's above grade. There's another 10 stories below grade. I knew that each floor of each building was the equivalent of an acre of land. So we had 110 acres and another 110 acres. You know, a lot of property. I knew that there's up to 40,000 people a day in the World Trade Center complex. 20,000 permanent employees and another 20,000 transients. People going there for business or to shop in the mall underground or eat at one of the restaurants. I knew how many elevators were in each tower. This always amazes people. I want you to think of the biggest building you know and how many elevators are in it. How many elevators do you think were in each tower of the World Trade Center? Yell out a number. 20, higher. 40, higher. 60, higher. I didn't hear anything. 100, lower. 99. 99 elevators in each tower. This is some of the things I know. I'm going to play that game one more time. You know how to play? Okay, because I want you to guess how many stairwells were in each tower. 200, lower. 99, lower. Come on, you guys know how to play this game. Okay, the guys don't know. The girls know how to play because they watch that show on TV. 25, lower. 2, higher. 10, lower. 4, lower. Okay, now I'm going to stop right there. I said 2, higher, 4, lower. You got some smart people here. Someone said 3. Exactly, 3 stairwells. There's huge buildings, 3 stairwells. That's going to come into play in a little while. I'm going to explain. But this is what I knew about this building. And the other thing, in '93, I evacuated that building. I was in charge of evacuation. So I called the dispatcher, said, I evacuated that building in '93. I know a lot about it. I knew, some of the things I just told you. I have to be there. I have to help. So the dispatcher sent me down. On the way down, this is what happens, what you see in here. Second plane hits the second tower. Like I said, I thought it was a terrorist act immediately. Now it's confirmed in my mind this is terrorism. At the time, I didn't know what type of plane it was. I didn't know it was a 757. I did not know that it had 20,000 pounds of jet fuel. That's a tremendous fuel load, 20,000 pounds. This is what 20,000 pounds of fuel looks like when it spontaneously ignites and comes out of the building. Because the plane actually went through the building. This is the exit, what you're seeing. You don't see it coming in, you see the exit, and that fuel spontaneously igniting. What you don't see is all the fuel that remained in the building. And I told you about all the elevators, all the elevator shafts, went into all the elevator shafts. And when you're seeing this ignition, that same thing happened in the elevator shafts, up and down the elevator shafts, blowing out hoistway doors on various floors. This is 8:45 in the morning. Thousands of people coming into these big sky lobbies, these big lobbies, waiting for the elevator, and all of a sudden, all the elevators burst open spontaneously at the same time, and flames shoot out like this. So we had people burnt, we had people injured on various floors. Most of the elevators are out of service. So we have a horrendous problem. I get down there, I look up, I see that. And also what I see is this thick, thick black smoke, flames. And not only what I see, but what I hear. People were jumping. Certain things in life you shouldn't have to see, believe me. A lot of people were jumping. The first New York City fireman that was killed was actually killed when someone landed on him as he was going into the building. So we had a horrendous situation. We have people trapped. We have fires on various floors. We have a catastrophe. But we have to do our jobs. So what I do, I look up, I see this, and I work my way into the lobby. The chief that I talked to in the lobby, he's doing the job September 11th that I was doing in 1993. Not exactly. In 93, I was purely in charge of evacuation, but he's the overall in charge of evacuation, extinguishment, searches. He's in charge of everything. So I know he's getting information overload. So I go up to him, and it's a friend of mine who I know. I said, Pete, what do you need? Tell me what you need. And he tells me, Richie, we have people trapped on the 20 and 23rd floor. Get them. Okay, now I could take part of his responsibility over to myself. So what I do is I take a company, I go to the staging area, I make sure the companies, the fire companies that come in have the right tools. Depending on the type of building we go into, we have different tools, we have different tactics, different procedures. High-rise is different than a multiple dwelling, different than a commercial. So they had the correct tools, the correct equipment. I said, let's go. We have our initial assignment to 20 and 23rd floor. So how are we going to get up to them floors? Well, I explained a little bit earlier, all the fuel went into the elevator shaft, so the elevator shafts are out of service. So we have to go up one of them 3 stairwells, 3 narrow stairwells, 36 to 42 inches wide. That's not very wide at all. There's a problem with that, though. What's the problem? Everyone coming down. Thousands of people, up to, I don't know, they said there was up to 25,000 people in the buildings at that time. They're all coming down the stairs, these narrow 36, 42-inch stairwells. So they're coming down, we have to go up. Now, I'm a chief. As a chief, I don't have I'm not carrying heavy tools. I'm not carrying hose. That's what the firemen are doing. But I'm a chief, so I have a relatively light load. I have my bunker gear, my helmet, my mask, radios, flashlight. I have about 60 pounds of equipment, which is light compared to the average fireman who's carrying close to 100 pounds of equipment. So you carry 100 pounds of equipment, we're encapsulated in our turnout gear, and we got to climb stairs, initially up to the 23rd floor. So what we're doing is what we do in this country. We're going up the stairs, and we're staying to the right. The people are coming down. Now I'm going to tell you what happens in an emergency. People are looking for direction. They're looking for leadership. They want to be told what to do, and they're going to do what they're told to do, They're looking for a command presence. They're looking for someone to take charge and tell them what to do, and that's what they're going to do. So when we're telling them what to do, when I'm telling them what to do, they're following instructions. As we're going up the stairs and we're staying to the right, all of a sudden above me, I hear someone saying, "Stay to the left." I don't know who's saying this, but I said, the people are trying to move over. They're told to do something, they're going to do it. So they're moving over to the left. So I say, "Stay to the right." "Stay to the left." "Stay to the right." Every time I say "stay to the right," a voice above me says, "Stay to the left." So now the people don't know what to do. They're going left, right, left. So I don't know who's saying this. I figure any second he's going to come down, but he doesn't come down. It seems like he's going up as I'm going up. So what I do is I break away and I run up a few flights of stairs to see, and all of a sudden I see this big burly fireman. He's going up the stairs. He's on the right-hand side, and every 4 or 5 steps, he's saying to no one and to everyone, "Stay to the left." So I yell to him, "Hey, bro." That's a term we use. Bro, brother. Because we have a brotherhood in the fire department. We have a strong brotherhood. If I know them, I don't know them, it doesn't matter. We're brothers. We have that strong brotherhood, hopefully like you guys do. So he turns around, looks, sees me. I'm the chief. I have the white helmet. Almost all the firemen know all the chiefs. The chiefs don't know all the firemen. So he looks, he said, "Yeah, chief." I said, "Stay to the right." He says, "I got you." He turns around, takes a couple steps. "Stay to the left." So I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" So now I run up to him, because I'm still down below him. I run up, I tap him on the shoulder. He turns around, looks at me. I said, "What are you doing?" "Stay to the right." This is what he says. "Yeah, we're going up to the right. They have to come down to the left." I'm not making this up. Now, what am I going to do with him, though? So I take him, and I turn him around that he's facing down the stairs. And I said, "Stay to the right." And you know the cartoons with the little light bulb over the guy's head? I saw that light bulb go on. He goes up, we're going up. We get to our initial assignment, the 23rd floor. The people that needed help there were being treated by other firemen that were there before we got there. And at that point, I told the company I was with, "We have to get to the fire floor now." This was the North Tower, the first tower to be hit that I was in. So I said, one of the tenets in firefighting in a high-rise building is unit integrity. The company stays together as a unit. That's the only type of building that a unit stays together. Almost every other type of building we go to, when the company gets there, they split up. But in a high-rise, they want them to stay together. So I told the company we have to get up to the point of impact, which was approximately the 93rd floor. But I told them also, we finished our initial assignment. I'm going to break away and go up on my own. because I'm by myself, I don't have the heavy equipment that they have, and I could probably go up a little bit faster. So that's what I do. I break away, and I'm going up. Now, I'm going up the C stairwell. There's only 3, A, B, and C. I'm going up C. And what I'm doing is every 5 or 6 floors or so, I'm stepping out of the stairwell into the public hallway. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to see what the conditions were like on various floors, if there were people injured, if there were any fires. Number two, I wanted to take a quick breather. You can't stop in the stairwell, you know, with all that equipment you're carrying. You don't want to stop in the stairway and impede the people coming down. So you step out into the hallway for a quick breather. When I'm talking about a quick breather, I'm talking about 10, 15 seconds. You sling the mask off. That mask weighs 45 pounds. So that's a break right there. And I'm doing a quick little survey on various floors. I'm doing this various floors all the way up. And I get up to the 35th floor. And on the 35th floor, I step out of the stairwell into the public hall. And as I do that, all of a sudden, the building starts shaking. Loud, banging, and shaking real loud. So loud, it caused us to just freeze in our steps. The building is shaking so loud you can't believe it. And I could hear this noise. It's coming, it's loud, it's banging, and it's coming down. When I tell you I could feel noise, I could literally feel this noise. It's above me, it's coming down fast. I don't know how fast, but it's coming down. In a matter of seconds, it's not above me anymore. It envelops me. This noise is all around me, continues, it's coming, it's shaking, the shaking's going on, it's unbelievable. And then it stopped. The noise literally went right through my body. I didn't know at the time, but that lasted 10 seconds. There's an expression, the silence was deafening. Well, when that noise stopped, everyone, when it started, we all just froze. You didn't want to make a move because you thought it'd be the wrong move. So you just froze and we're staring at the ceiling because that's where the noise started, just staring there. As the noise went through us, we didn't move, we're still staring at the ceiling. Now it's deathly quiet. And all of a sudden, the shift of the guys, I was on the 35th floor, and other firemen were doing the same thing, taking a quick breather. Basically, there was no civilians left that high up. There was some. But the firemen, their shift changes from the ceiling, and they start looking at me. I'm the chief. What was that, and what are we going to do? Because they're going to do whatever I tell them to do. I have no idea what that was. I had some thoughts, but I didn't want to think what I was thinking. So I get on my radio. This is Chief Picciotto. I'm the 35th floor to North Tower. Something major just happened in this building. Does anyone know what just happened? Saying that, now I have to backtrack a little bit. I have to go back to 1993. In 1993, I basically stayed in the lobby almost the whole time because that was my job in 93. I had to evacuate that building. I'm sending companies up, find out where people are, get people down. In 93, we had a major problem, communication. The radios we were using could only transmit through approximately 10 floors, either above or below wherever you were. So if you were on the 50th floor, you could transmit to the 60th to the 40th, but that's about it. In the lobby, you could transmit up to 10, 15. Sporadically, you would get messages through, or messages would come back from anywhere in the building, but that was sporadic. It wasn't reliable. That was a huge problem in 93. It was so much so, I had to take companies out of service and take each individual member and use them as a runner. You go up to this floor. You go up to the 30th floor, find this chief. You go up to the 50th floor, get a report, and come back to me because I need information. Well, guess what? September 11th, we still had the same radios with the same problems. So now I'm on the 35th floor. I'm giving this Mayday. I'm giving, something major just happened. I want to know what happened. I don't know who's even hearing this message. I have different radios, different frequencies. I have a command channel. I have a tactical channel. All of a sudden, I get confirmation of what just happened. Someone hears me. Someone tells me the tower's down. Tower's down. What tower? Now, I knew what they were saying. I was just looking for some feasible explanation that the building's not down. And I thought, like you can see in this picture here, the building on the right is the North Tower that I was in. You can see at the top it had a radio antenna. So I'm thinking maybe they're saying that radio tower went down and that's the noise I heard, but I knew it was too loud for that. Then I got confirmation that South Tower just went down. Well, my first thought is, how many friends of mine just died? I've been a fireman at this point almost 30 years. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people in that building. My next thought is not only how many friends of mine, how many people? And when I said my next thought, these thoughts are just bombarding me one after another. I didn't actually have one after, they were all there. My next thought is back to 93. They planted a bomb in that building in 93. They wanted to take it down. Now, I knew the planes had hit, but I felt at that point, that they probably planted a bomb in the buildings also. That's not what happened, but at that point, that's what I thought may have happened. A bomb was planted in the building, and a bomb went off to take that building down. Well, my next assumption thinking that is there's probably one in the North Tower also. The South Tower came down, there's probably one in the North Tower. Now, at this point, I knew that the Pentagon was hit. I knew there were other planes inbound. Well, I shouldn't say I knew, I got these reports. I also had reports that missiles were being fired from one high-rise building to another in New York City. That did not happen, but these are the reports we had. So I know this is a major terrorist act, and it's a coordinated act. So I thought they planted bombs like they did in 93. So now at that point, I have a decision to make, the toughest decision I ever made in my life. I'm responsible for life, civilians' lives. Firemen risk their lives to save other people's lives. We take risks, but we take calculated risks, not unnecessary risks. Someone has to make that calculation. That's the chief. That's what I get paid for. And you make that on a various, so many different factors come in, but it's gut. And at that point, my gut told me, this building is unsafe. I got to get everyone out. When I say everyone, I have to get the civilians out, but I have to get the firefighters to rescue people out also. So I made a decision, toughest decision I ever made in my life. I called for the evacuation. Evacuate the building, evacuate the North Tower. Now, when I say it's the toughest decision I ever made in my life, because I knew at that point, the people above the point of impact, the people that were jumping when I got there, they only have 1 in a million chance, and now they don't even have that, because if we leave, no one's going to come get to them. I also know, and I think of this later, you see that thick, thick black smoke. When people die in a high-rise building, they don't die from heat. They don't burn to death. They die from smoke inhalation. They breathe that smoke, and they die. That usually happens 4 to 7 minutes of being in that heavy, thick smoke. 4 to 7 minutes. When the South Tower collapsed, the North Tower was burning for an hour. So these people probably weren't alive at that point anyway. But if they were, we're not going to try to get to them anymore, because I got to get all these firemen out. So I gave that order to evacuate. How did I give the order? Obviously, I gave it to my radio. But who's hearing it? I don't really know. I know people within 10 floors of me are probably hearing it, but I don't know above that or below that if they're hearing it. So I also had a bullhorn with me. So what I did is I went to each stairwell, A, B, and C, repeated that order with the radio, and then repeated it again with the bullhorn. And I waited at each stairwell until the people above me, mostly the firefighters, stopped, reversed direction, and went down. And when they did that, then I moved on to the next stairwell and the next stairwell. So now once I had everyone, and I was hoping that that message was going to be repeated like that telephone game, repeated further up. But once I knew the people were coming down on all 3 stairwells, reverse direction, I started going down too. Now, I told you when I was going up, I stopped at every 5, 6 floors or so. On the way down, I had a different priority. I did a sweep of every floor. From 35 down, I stopped at every floor and made sure no one was staying back for any reason. Now, obviously I didn't go into every office, but the trade center, the public hallway is like a big T, the public hallways. And I ran up and down that T, making sure I could look into the offices and no one was there. But, people being what they are, I'll tell you a couple stories. I get to the 27th floor. On the 27th floor, I'm doing my sweep, and I look into an office, and there's a guy sitting at his computer terminal, and he's typing away. I yell to him, "Hey, we're evacuating, get out." Well, he puts his hand up. "I'm doing something important here," he tells me. So I said, "Oh, excuse me." It's not exactly what I said. So I go running over to him, and as I go running over, he's still. Now, I have to tell you, when the chief runs, the firemen run. So if I'm going to run someplace, I have a bunch of firemen with me. They're running to see what's going on. So I go running over. As I'm running over, I'm saying, "Get out of here." He's just not listening. We're not going to have an argument. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to discuss it. I reach down, I grab him by his shirt, I yank him out of his chair, and I kind of push him over to the fireman. Well, when I do that, he gives me this look, like, "How dare you touch me? You're a dirty fireman. Can't you see? I'm a member of PETA." Either that or a lawyer, I don't know. I don't know what he did, but it's true, he didn't want to leave. So the other thing I told you, firemen follow directions. So I look at him, he gives me this dirty look, and I tell the fireman, "Listen, if he doesn't walk down the stairs, pick him up and throw him down." All of a sudden, that guy was gone. People ask me, did he make it? And I don't know. You know, this whole thing took 15 seconds. I hope he made it. I always tell everyone, I hope someday I'm walking down a street in New York City and some guy comes up to me. He says, "Remember me, the 27th floor of the World Trade Center?" I said, "No." He says, yeah, you ripped my shirt. You want me a shirt." Well, he goes down, we're going down, I'm still doing my sweep floor by floor. And the next thing that happens, this is the pitchy scene right here, is the start of the South Tower collapsing. And the North Tower's on the right. And this is the building coming down. Well, I'm doing my sweep floor to floor, that was 27. I get down to the 19th floor, and it's going pretty smooth until the 19th floor. The 19th floor, I'm in the C stairwell, and it just stops. No one's moving. So I start telling the people, you know, I'm the chief again, I have a bullhorn. I said, "Don't stop for any reason, just go. If you find someone injured, pick them up, carry them, drag them, do not stop." As I'm saying this, no one's moving. So now I'm pushing my way down, the firemen will let me down, and word filters up to me. They can't go. Because what happened when the South Tower went down, this 110 acres of everything, people, chairs, desks, computers, tables, you name it, where did it all go? Well, it comes down, breaks into the basement, the sub-basement. The sub-basement was a huge 16-acre hole, 100-foot deep, 80 to 100-foot deep. You guys know size, 16-acre, 100-foot hole. So most of this debris filled that up. And then what did it do? Well, it started mushrooming back up, breaking into all the surrounding buildings. Well, the closest building to the South Tower was the North Tower. And somewhere below me, this debris broke into the C stairwell and clogged it up. We couldn't go down because it was all jam-packed with debris. So as soon as that word filtered up to me, I ran out. I ran straight down to the next stairwell, which was the A stairwell. The A stairwell was the same thing. It was just clogged with people not moving. I run back out. I run down the public hallway to the T section, to the B stairwell. Now, the B stairwell, the way the building was built and designed, the B stairwell was in the middle of the building, surrounded by all the elevator shafts. They had a big shaft in the middle, and the stairwell was there. The B stairwell was moving. So I went back to A and C and told everyone, go to B. That's the only stairwell. So here it is, the biggest building in the world, thousands of people, and we're down to one 36, 42-inch stairwell. Obviously, it's slow going. But we're still going. We're down that B stairway, we're going down and down and down. Next major thing that happens, I get to the 12th floor. On the 12th floor, I'm doing my sweep, And some firemen are there, and all of a sudden they say, hey, Chief, we got a problem in here. And they bring me into an office, and I go into this office, and there's, I don't know, there's maybe 30 or 40 people. And they're all sitting on chairs, they're sitting on desks. And I'm saying to myself, this is the 12th floor. At this point, this building has been burning for close to an hour and a half. No one should be on the 12th floor. The office where they brought me into was close to the C stairwell that was clogged. So I make a quick assumption, they don't know how to get out. And I tell them, the B stairway's open, walk out the hall, down the hallway, make a left and a quick right, the stairwell's right there. So just follow everyone. Everyone's doing the same thing. And as I say that, the people are not moving. They're still sitting down on the chairs and on the desks. So I say, come on, people, you got to move, let's go, move. Well, they get up and they start moving. A couple of wheelchairs roll towards me. Walkers, people get walkers, canes, crutches. And then I realized that these are all non-ambulatory people, people that can't walk, can't move. Now, I said there's 30 or 40 of them. I don't know how many there were there. There was enough to be a noticeable group. But for every non-ambulatory person, there was another person with them, a helper. They didn't know each other. They met that day, but they weren't going to leave each other. They started telling me, this is Charlie, this is Joe, this is Mary. I'm not leaving him, I'm not leaving her. We were together from the 40th floor, from the 30th floor. I'm not leaving, we're getting out together. And then I had to be the bad guy. Yes, you are leaving him. Because basic tenet, you get the ambulatory people out first. I said, I have plenty of firemen here. You go, we can get you out faster. The faster you get out, the faster we get these people out. So I chased all the helpers away. Then we started taking all the non-ambulatory people. Everyone thinks the wheelchairs are the hardest. And they're hard, believe me, but they're not the hardest. Because the wheelchairs, you kind of just roll them down the public hall, and you know, you kind of roll them down the stairs. You know, you don't roll them down the stairs like that, but you bring them down. Some of the hardest people, some of these old guys, not as old, well, I'll get in trouble if I say that, but some of these old guys who don't want to help, but they walk like this. Don't touch me. I can do it myself. Did I ever tell you about the time? They want to tell me their life story, and you know, I'd love to hear it, but not now. So I could see this one guy, and I could see he can't walk too fast, and he didn't want anyone to help him. I looked at the fireman, I said, pick him up, get him out of here. And you know, first I hear, don't put me down. But I could, as they carried him away. But we had to get these people out as fast as possible. So we carried them, we did everything. We got them all out, and now we're back in the stairwell. We're back in that stairwell. That was the 12th floor, 11, 10, 9. I said, just a couple more minutes, and we'll be out of this building. Because to me, there was a clock ticking. We had, you know, every minute we stayed in that building was a minute too long. I get down to the 8th floor, the 7th floor. You know that noise I told you about earlier? That shaking, that banging? Well, that was nothing. Because it starts again. A lot louder, a lot more violent. You can't believe how loud. All of a sudden, this building is coming apart at the seams. Not only that, when the south tower went down and I could hear this noise, the light stayed on. There was no wind. As soon as it started again the second time, as soon as the north tower started to collapse, it went black. So now the noise is louder, the shaking's more violent, it's black, and as this building's coming down, the building is floor upon floor is coming down. We call it pancaking. It's pushing all that air in the building down. And that air is like a hurricane or a tornado, picking us up and throwing us around like rag dolls. It's black that we can't see, but you know, we're being tossed around like rag dolls. The noise is so loud. The south tower that went down almost an hour before took 10 seconds. 10 seconds to come down. The north tower took 8. 8 seconds. Is that a long time or a short time? Could be a lifetime. What do you do in 8 seconds? Well, people are going to tell you, right before you're going to die, your life will flash in front of you. And that's kind of what happened to me. I thought about my wife and my kids. For a lot of us, that is our lives, our families. And that's what I thought about, real quick. And then what did I do? Well, what could I do? I'm on the ground, I'm being tossed around. I prayed. I prayed a compilation of every prayer I ever knew in my life. Took about a second and a half. But then I prayed what I wanted more than anything at that point. What I wanted more than anything. Please, God, make it quick. Please, God, make it quick. I knew what was happening. No one ever heard this noise in the history of mankind. I heard it 39 minutes ago, and now I hear it again. I knew what was happening. This building's collapsing. So what I wanted at that point, more than anything, I just wanted it to be quick. Please, God, make it quick. Made a real quick peace with myself. I just didn't want to suffer. I just wanted it to be over. As I'm saying that to myself, it was like a mantra. I'm saying it over and over and over. All of a sudden, the floor that I was on, the stairs, just disintegrated. They just weren't there anymore, like a trap door opened. You know, I couldn't see, it's black. But now I felt myself free-falling in blackness. I'm free-falling, it's shaking, it's loud, I'm banging. Please, God, make it quick, please. Black. Silent. Still. Well, I guess I'm dead now. That's what I thought. I can't tell you how loud it was, how violent. It registered on the Richter scale like an earthquake. It was loud that people heard it 15 miles away, and in a split second, silence, stillness, quiet. I felt, I'm dead. That's what it is. I'm dead. And this is what happens when you die. Your thoughts go on in this vacuum. Now, when I say that, if you look at the picture, you see this gray dust. Well, that's what happened. Everything there, when these buildings came down, in 8 seconds, 10 seconds, metal on metal, like a blender. In 8 seconds, everything became dust, powder, like talcum powder. It was very light. I was in a blacked out area, I couldn't see, but I felt this talcum powder on me. And I break through it, and I'm all over. It's still black, it's still quiet. And at that point, I still think I'm dead. And then I realize it's hot and it's smoky. Uh-oh. If I'm dead, I don't want hot and smoky. But I realized I was alive. I also realized that I wasn't alone. I just had this sixth sense that there were other people there. And I just called out to no one because it was black. Is anyone else here? And I started getting answers. Yeah, I'm here. So am I. Me too. And what had happened, 13 other people were in the same void that I was in. 11 other New York City firemen, one New York City, Port Authority police officer, and one civilian, this black woman named Josephine that some of the firemen were helping down. Actually, she passed away last week. It was in the papers. She was approximately 60 years old. She worked for the Port Authority. You guys were helping her down. But we were all in this void. Well, once I knew some of the firemen, I told everyone, don't move. Just stay where you are. Because anytime there's a collapse and a void is created, it's that void, it becomes a house of cards. You move one card and the whole house of cards collapses. And that same thing happens with any type of void. If you move a brick or a stick or anything, you have the possibility of the whole void collapsing. So I told everyone, don't move, just stay where you are. Now, firemen all carry flashlights. I said, turn on your lights, just look, observe. And that's what we did for a while. We just looked. And then what I did, and we all started calling on the radios, calling for help, calling Maydays. Well, that went on for a couple minutes, then I realized I have to get control here. I said, don't move, just stay where you are. Everyone couldn't see each other, so we were all on various levels. You'll see a couple pictures in a few minutes. I told everyone, turn off your radios. We'll leave one radio on, we'll use my radio, and I'll keep on making the calls, making maydays, and then, because sooner or later these batteries are gonna go dead, and then we'll use the next one and the next one. So I told everyone to turn off the radios. And the same thing, I told them to turn off their lights too, their flashlights, because initially we had the lights on, everything was lit up. And I said, we have to conserve these. You know, these batteries aren't gonna last long, so we had to turn them off. So we were sitting there in blackness. Initially, I was calling out every couple of minutes, then every 5 minutes, then every 7 minutes, calling maydays, maydays, maydays. Time gets a little sketchy. You don't know exactly when, you know, how long things took. It was probably about an hour and a half or so when I made contact with someone. I finally made contact with someone. I made contact with another chief, actually a friend of mine, a guy I know, Mark Ferran. And I said, Mark, it's Richie. I'm in the B stairway to North Tower. And he tells me, Richie, you can't be there. There is no North Tower. I'm here. He wasn't even down there when the buildings collapsed. He got down there later. You know, he came from home, went to the firehouse, got his gear, and rushed down there knowing that, you know, he'd be needed. He was able to get a radio, and he heard me calling. So I said, Mark, don't leave this frequency. Stay on this one frequency. So now at least I have some contact. And he says, I'll get some guys who will come looking for you. I don't really have enough time to explain that whole story. It's in the book, which I'm sure you could get a copy of later on. After a while, Mark and his guys are trying to get to us, and it's black, and they can't find us. I realized I had this bullhorn with me. Now, this bullhorn had a siren on it. So I said, Mark, I'm going to turn the siren on for a couple seconds. You should be able to hear it. So I turned the siren on. It's loud, like a police car or a fire engine. Turned it off. I said, did you hear it? He said, no. So I said, you got to get closer. Again, did that initially every 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 15, 20. After an hour or so goes by, 2 hours go by, I'm saying, you know, he's never going to hear us. 100-story building just collapsed, and who knows how much debris, millions of tons of debris are on top of us. So at this point now, it's hours later. I'm getting very tired. I'm getting very lethargic. I'm thinking of different things. I'm thinking of my family, my kids. I'm thinking that there was a previous fire in Queens, New York, on Father's Day, the year before. We called it the Father's Day fire. It was a 2-story building, a 2-story hardware store, masonry building. We had firemen in the basement. We had 3 firemen in the basement of that building when the building collapsed. They were alive. We knew they were there. We could talk to them on their radio. We couldn't get to them in time. We have the services of the whole New York City Fire Department, you know, close to 10,000 members with all the equipment in the world, and we couldn't get the 3 guys in a 2-story building. Because anytime there's a collapse, you can't bring bulldozers in, you can't bring excavators in, because that's just going to collapse that void that they're on. You have to hand dig it out. And we couldn't get to them in time in the 2-story building. So now I'm saying to myself, what are the chances that they're going to get to us with 100 stories of debris on top of us? So my thought process wasn't too nice at that point. And at this point also, I'm getting very tired, very lethargic. We had the lights out, so it was black. And we were sitting down most of the time anyway. We never bunched up. But I said, you know, I'm going to lay down. I'm going to take a little nap. I'm going to close my eyes and take a nap. Now, when I say close my eyes, you don't even know if your eyes are open or closed when you're in blackness. But I said, I'm going to try to go to sleep. And then, you know, little knowledge is a dangerous thing. I'm saying to myself, well, I'm probably slowly being asphyxiated, carbon monoxide, being poisoned. Something's putting me to sleep. I said, well, that ain't bad, actually. That's kind of nice if I take a nice long nap. So I'm laying there in blackness, looking up at nothing or black, and all of a sudden, one little area is dark, dark gray. And I'm looking at it. Now, at this point, I think I may be hallucinating. So I'll put my hand up, I'm turning away, coming back. And I'm pretty sure that there's this gray area here. So I call out to the guys above me, does anyone see this gray area? And they said, yeah, what is that? Well, first of all, I'm glad they saw it. Because if they said they didn't see it, I was going to say I didn't see it either. But as we're standing there, literally by the minute, it's getting a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter. I told everyone, earlier I said, don't move, don't move. There were guys above me. I asked them, could they get to it? They didn't think so. So at this point, then it's hours that we're stuck. So I said, okay, everyone just stay where you are. I'm going to slowly go towards this gray area that's getting a little bit brighter and a little bit brighter. I'm going to go toward the light. And I start climbing up. I see the guys that are above me. I stop with them. I talk to them for a few minutes. I said, okay, I'm just going to gingerly go up. And I go up. I'm climbing up. I'm climbing up. And all of a sudden, I'm out. I'm on top of the biggest pile of debris in the whole debris field. What I saw and what I didn't see was amazing. This is a picture of the building coming down. Again, this is, I should have showed a couple of these a few minutes ago. This is that dust cloud that was created over Lower Manhattan. That's the dust from the buildings coming down. And also, as these buildings came down and they broke into the surrounding buildings with all that jet fuel and compression causes heat, fires were in all the surrounding buildings. 48-story buildings, 9-story buildings, 20-story buildings, completely engulfed in fire. Fire out every window of every one of these buildings. So all that smoke mixed with all this dust, that's why it obscured that little area. This little crevice that was there was obscured because of this big dust cloud over Lower Manhattan. This is the picture that I showed you a little bit earlier. That's of the Brooklyn Bridge, taken from Brooklyn over the East River. But you can see the blue sky. You can see the skyline of the city. I want you to just keep on looking at these pictures for a minute, because as soon as the South Tower went down, this is what happened almost instantly. It went from that to that. You couldn't even see the city anymore because of all that dust. And that's why it was obscured, that the area we were in. You couldn't see it. But now, once the dust settled a little bit and the smoke shifted, because the fires didn't go out for months, but the smoke shifted, let a little bit of light in, and we could see. Now I climb out, all of a sudden I'm out on the top of the biggest pile of debris in the whole field. And like I said, what I saw and what I didn't see was amazing. What I saw was just devastation. The surrounding buildings were on fire. Fire out every window. I could see this big, huge debris field, 16 acres of just debris, and I don't see a single person, not a single rescuer in there. This is hours later. I'm talking to these people. I know that they're trying to get to us. They weren't even in the 16 acres yet. That's how high the debris was outside and how they had to climb up 30 foot of debris 2 blocks away. They had to climb up, try to climb in, and then couldn't make it and had to go back and try to do it again. Again, it's a little bit in the book about Mark and his guys, how they went in. I'm out. I call Mark. I said, Mark, I'm out, because now I had handy-talky communication with them. And I put the bullhorn on, and he could finally hear it. But it took them a while to try to figure out where we were. Eventually, some of Mark's guys got to where we were. Now, we had some people that were badly injured, very badly injured, fatally, some of them. So we didn't want to just leave, because we couldn't leave them. So we waited for Mark's guys to come, and then we kind of traded places. And again, it's in the book. I don't have enough time to get into all of it. But Mark's guys came through 4 World Trade Center. That was not fully involved in fire when they came in. It was involved in fire, but not fully. By the time they got to where we were, it was fully involved. So we could not go out the way that they came in. Now, once I'm out, I got a lot of very good information of which way not to go. People are trying to get to us from every direction, north, south, east, or west. And anyone I've talked to is telling me, don't try to go this way because it's impossible. Don't go north, don't go south, don't go east, don't go west. Plus, the smoke and the debris was all over, so we kind of meandered, trying to get around. And finally, after, I don't know how long, another hour, 2 hours or so, whatever it was, we finally worked our way out of the debris. This is actually where we were, and I'm gonna point a few things out on this. Excuse my back. This is actually the pile of debris that I was under. This is the North Tower. I was right here under that debris. This was that beam right there. You'll see that again. But this is where we were. We were all under this. The next picture shows That area is right over here. That's that little area. That's the North Tower. This is the South Tower. That was building 1. This was building 2. This was the Marriott Hotel, was building 3, 4, 5, 6. That was building 7 right there. That's the 48-story building that collapsed later on that day. That's the controversy building, which is all bull. But that's the building that collapsed. This is where they came in, but we couldn't go out that way. So we were here. We kind of meandered around, eventually went this way and came out over here. But just to see where we were, that's from one perspective. This is getting a little bit closer now. This is where we were right here. And that's, again, the standing wall of the North Tower. And then you can see it again right here. This is where we were. This is the North Tower. We were right here in this little section right here. And that section included the stairwell that we were in and one of the elevator shafts that I was telling you about. And now you can see it. This was taken, I don't know when this was taken, but you can see that they had the cranes and everything, so this was taken maybe a month or so later. This is the elevator shaft, and this is the stairwell that we were in. Now, when we were in there, it was just a pile of debris that you saw a few minutes ago. It was just a pile of debris. The wall was up and all the debris was over. But we climbed from the interior through this out over here. And actually, this is a little bit bigger. You can see the stairwell, climbed through it, through the interior, came out over here, and then eventually climbed up to this beam here and then shimmied down that beam and then got on all this other stuff that was there. When I talk to groups, people say, what are you trying to tell? What kind of lessons are you trying to give? Well, I got a few things I want to say. Number one is you have to put priorities on your life. I can't tell anyone in this room what their priorities should be. What I can tell you, though, is anytime there's a tragedy, your priorities get very focused. When things are going good, you have a lot of priorities, But when things are bad, you really realize what's important in your life. And I'll tell you, I guarantee what some of them will be, family and friends. That's important. When things are going good, vacations, cars, new pair of cowboy boots, that's all great, but family and friends are what's really important. And that's what you have to, when things are going good, you have to embrace what's really important. Embrace what you should be embraced. And then also what happened after September 11th. This country became a lot closer, a lot more united. And we lost that. Why? Well, you heard from the governor earlier, and you heard from Steve, the president, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. These partisan politics, and the governor seemed like great, and from what I understand, he is a great governor. He wants to get away from that partisan politics. And I guess in your organization too, I don't know, but there's forces that divide. Hey, we could all disagree on things, but there's bigger fish to fry. Agree to disagree and get on what we all agree on. You have issues in your industry. Hey, band together and try to fix what can be fixed. And if you have issues that you can't agree on, just agree to disagree and just drop them. Politicians have to do that too. Politics in this country got really ugly, and I think most of us got annoyed at it, and we're getting rid of the politicians that are doing that. Because really, our minor differences are minor. We have so much more in common that we can't let our minor differences divide us. And then finally, people say, well, how'd you get through it? Well, I got through it with a couple of different things, like I told you earlier. Faith in the people of this country. This is a great country. I mean, we all know it. This is the best country in the world, and I firmly believe that. Hope, the American spirit, charity. The charity shown to New York City Fire Department was overwhelming. And I'm sure a lot of you helped, you donated money or what you could, and that was appreciated. It was appreciated tremendously. But even more than the money was the hope you gave us. The whole country, how they banded together for New York was tremendous. We did it for Katrina. That's what we do in this country. We help those in need. This is a great country. We can't forget about that. And finally, when I said faith in the country, the people, and faith in God. Because what had happened with me, what did I do when I thought I was going to die? My last things. I prayed. This is a picture of a beam in the shape of a cross. This is exactly how it was found. 2 pieces of masonry stuck in and a piece of sheet metal wrapped around it. Became a symbol for the rescue workers down there. We left it there as long as we could. We had to excavate 80 foot below that. We had to, get down. And when we had to move it, we put it on a pedestal and left it there on the side. A couple of years ago, it was removed because of the construction going on. But it became a symbol of what we believe in this country. And it also became a symbol of what I did. I prayed. Which one of my final points I want to make is, I prayed so hard. I wanted so much. What did I pray for? What did I want? Guess what? I'm glad my prayers weren't answered. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the best. Sometimes what you think what you want, you don't want it. I'm glad God didn't answer my prayers at that point, because I wouldn't be here today. Finally, I want to thank you for your support, your generosity. And one final thing, I got a little video clip I'm going to show you in a minute, but I have one final thing I'd like to say. That support and generosity you showed me in New York City, you have to show that to the troops also. We can't forget we're in a war. We're fighting for you. Support the troops. Thank you.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Never give up. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Richard,
Oh,
thank you so very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.